Hello and welcome to another episode of Happily Discontent, where we share some things, some mindset, some information, and a little bit about what we're doing to better your today and tomorrow. And today, we're not going to be talking about bettering today's or tomorrow's. We're going to be talking about bettering your entire next year. It's resolution season, baby. This is that time of year where people's motivation is sky high, but their realism is rock bottom. People are myself included, are so guilty of having these high ambitions rolling into the new year and cracking within the first few weeks or few months. Rarely does a resolution make it to the end of the year. So that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you can hack your brain and take advantage of how it already works in order to stay committed to your goals and also committed to yourself. We want to talk a lot about how you can invest not in your productivity, but in your happiness. So Nick, we've got a little saying that we like to use here. It's the idea of inputs over outputs. I think this is a Pat Maz special, actually. I think this might have been the product of one of our baked brainstorms that we came up with this. But do you want to explain inputs versus outputs and how that relates to happiness and productivity?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know exactly where it came from, but I do know you were the one who told me about it. And as soon as I sort of clicked in my mind what it was, I was sold, and I thought it was a much better way to look at everything. So in the most simplest terms, inputs versus outputs is like you only focus on how hard you're trying, not what happens as a result. So if I try my best every single day, that's my input. I did what I could do. Some days my best is a lot better than others, and some days my best is absolutely nothing, and I don't do anything and I don't have the motivation, but that was my best for that day. That's all I could do. And that's really all that matters to me now, is the outcome's not always going to be perfect. There's going to be problems. Things are going to go wrong. That happens all the time. But if you're trying your best every single day, that there's literally nothing else you can do.
Exactly, man. I like to summarize it with this quote. And the quote is, focus on becoming the best version of yourself and let success be a byproduct of that journey, right? So focus all on the inputs, on what you're doing to better yourself, because the success will happen. If you commit to investing in yourself, the success will naturally happen as a result. And I think a good example is with exercise, right? It's like, if you only focus on like, oh, I want to weigh 195 pounds, I want to have, 8% body fat. If you're focusing on those, like, rather than focusing on those outcomes, which is, it's good to have that. It's good to have that goal that's going to motivate you, right? But don't spend too much time daydreaming about what your life is going to look like when that happens. Focus your energy on what you're going to do today in this moment to get closer to that, right? So that's this idea of inputs versus outputs, and it helps, in my opinion, deal with some of those shitty days that inevitably happen in the pursuit of your goals, because it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't get the right bounces today. Shit didn't go my way, but I still did what I needed to do. I got, maybe, even though it was only a centimeter closer, I took a step towards my goals, right? So, speaking of goals, this is, again, the time of year where people set these audacious goals that rarely get hit. So let's talk a little bit about how you can hack your brain to make the achievement of your goals much more likely. Some scientific things that you can use to take advantage of the way your brain works, i.e. tiny motherfucking habits, man. And what tiny habits is making the actual habit so ridiculously small that you actually freaking do it, right? And so I think there's a quote that summarizes this really well. One of my favorite quotes ever is this idea that without commitment, you'll never start, but without consistency, you'll never finish, right? And so that, I think, is so relevant to this time of year, because people have so much commitment, right? And we have this tendency to go, oh, I'm so committed, I'm gonna run 2 kilometers a day, right? That's the goal that they set. And the commitment is so high to doing that. But 2 kilometers, I mean, like maybe for some people that's not a lot, but if you're just starting out, like 2 kilometers is a decent amount. And what's likely going to happen is the Monday, January 4th, you're going to wake up and you're going to go for your 2 kilometer run. You'll probably do it Tuesday, maybe even do it Wednesday. But by Thursday, you know what? That first bad day where you're gonna wake up and be like, you know what? I'm tired. I just want to sleep. I do not want to get up and run 2 kilometers because it's a pretty big task to roll yourself out of bed and go and run 2 kilometers. So Tiny Habits would suggest that you make the resistance much lower by making that like what you need to do much easier, right? When we started running, we actually practiced this we did this exact one rather than telling ourselves Nick and I this summer decided we're going to start running every morning. Okay. And rather than saying this morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to run 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, whatever, we're like, I'm just going to get up and put my running clothes on. That's the only thing that I have to do today is just get up and put my running clothes on. I don't even need to motherfucking run. I don't even need to run, but I'm building into my brain this idea that when I wake up, I put my running clothes on and I feel good for doing it, right? And then the next week, okay, now that the running clothes are on, let's get out of the house and let's do a jog around the block. And then we do that. And by this point, we've been doing it for 2 weeks now. And it takes about 16 days. There's different ideologies. I think it depends on the actual nature of the habit itself, but it takes anywhere from like 16 to 64 days or something like that to pick up a new habit or drop a bad habit. And if you set the goal so big that you're dropping out at day 8 or day 9 or even day 15, you haven't allowed your brain to make it a habit and get used to doing it. So you basically, the goal is to get yourself to day 16 or day 30 or whatever it is as easy as possible. And then from there, like you said, because it's automatic and your brain has gotten used to it, it's so much easier to go from a 500 meter run to a 1 kilometer run to a 2 kilometer run to a 5 kilometer run because you're getting up either way, your body's used to that.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think everybody's a little bit different, but I know I found, and I think it was the same with you, that like the hardest part was actually getting out of bed, getting outside. It wasn't really the actual running part. The running part was easy. It was just like, am I gonna go commit to this? So once, it was only 200 meters, 400 meters, but like you said, after that 2 weeks, our body knew, okay, we're getting up and we're going outside and we're going for a run. It doesn't really know how long. At that point, it's like, I'm already out for a run. Let's increase by 100 meters. So the tough part of getting there, it's always everyone's like, it's tough to get to the gym. When you're at the gym, it's easy, So the whole thing about habits is the part in the middle is relatively easy. It's just getting there that's difficult. So what Tiny Habits lets you do is like the get there process is a lot easier. And then now you can just expand the being there and increase the difficulty slowly and slowly. But the hardest part is now is sort of gone because you've tricked your mind into, okay, I'm gonna do this anyways. I'm already out there. And then now getting to that run is gonna be immediate. Your brain will wake up, wanna go for a run, and then that's it. So that's why I love it so much.
My guy, I'm gonna fist bump you through the freaking cam here because that was a perfect freaking summary. I also think that's so relatable because like you hear it all the time. It's like, hey, I don't want to go to the gym. Like you have those days where you don't want to go, but then you go and you feel good as a result of it. Yeah. It's the getting there that's the difficult part. Tiny Habits makes that resistance much smaller, right? So let's draw this into a so what? You know what I mean? Okay, we've grilled you with the science of habits, the cue, routine, reward, and tiny habits. Like, what does this mean in terms of New Year's resolutions? I think this means that, okay, don't go out. I really respect the motivation that causes you to go out and set like some ridiculous goals that you're gonna, run a marathon, do an Ironman, read a book a week. You're going meditate every day. I love that that's where your head's at and that you have that motivation and that you're committed. You've committed yourself to self-improvement. However, our recommendation, and I think science's recommendation based off these findings, is that if you want to do those things, do not start by trying to do it from day one, by doing a full 30-minute meditation on day one, by doing a 5-kilometer run on day one, by reading 30 pages on day one. Start so ridiculously small that you can actually commit to doing it, and you get that consistency side of things. You actually do it every day. You get to day 16, and then your body now helps you to cruise from there. Meditation, I think, is another great example for this, because the way I started meditating and the way I made that habit so tiny, it was like, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes at the end of my day listening to good music and thinking about good things. And for me, that was just like something like, that's an enjoyable process. Like, why wouldn't you want to sit, listen to some chill beats and bring in some good vibes? Like, why? That was so easy for me to do, because it was so enjoyable that it was easy for me to springboard that from 5 minutes to now 10 minutes of me thinking about good things. So again, the moral of the story though is start so ridiculously small that you actually do it. And
the real point is that there's a lot of stress when it comes to New Year's resolutions, and you get so tied up in this whole, like, you know, first of all, I don't even know where New Year's resolutions came from. Like, somebody, I guess, probably was just like, everyone should make resolutions. So that's point number one, is that's kind of arbitrary just to have like a day where you make resolutions for yourself. But it's like putting all this weight and pressure by everyone saying, oh, like, this is what you need to do this New Year's to be happy. Like, no, like, the only resolution on your New Year's resolution, and my only resolution, is commit to myself and be happy as much as I can be every single day. So with these things, we're not giving you the tiny habits as a way to overload your New Year's resolutions and a way to achieve 20 goals. We're giving you these tiny habits to show you that starting small is okay, and bettering yourself a little by little every day is okay. You don't, Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't become an overnight success. Real life doesn't work like that. You really need to make your happiness and your betterment of yourself something that goes on all the time, whether it's January, February, March, April. It's not just the new year, it's your whole life. And you can't live your whole life by just throwing so many things on your plate at once. So I think it will really help you, one, make sure that you don't have, like, you're not freaking out and you're not trying to hit 20 different resolutions and you're not facing this regressive energy. Because when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, for me at least, it really builds this negative energy. You get upset at yourself and all those. It's a lot better just to avoid that and use something like this, Tiny, to help you not face that regressive energy. And also, as Pat said too, when you do the inputs versus outputs, even if you follow the tiny habits to a T, there's going to be days where you don't want to do this shit. I have days where I don't want to do the things on my to-do list.
Inevitable.
I just don't do it. Sometimes
bad days fucking happen.
Bad days fucking happen. And if you know that prior, when they do happen, then you can be prepared for them. And you won't, this input is, you'll still know you'll be giving your best. Don't let those couple negative days here and there, hinder the rest of the achievement that you've made.
Exactly. It's okay. It's so okay to take a day off. Like, we can't be machines every single day. So that's totally fine. It's natural. It is like something that needs to happen, right? It needs to happen to make that next day better. Cause like after a day off, you come back and you're like, yo, especially if you've already had this habit built in, it's like, I freaking missed yesterday. I'm coming back twice as hard today. So like, it's important to take those days off. And I think that's a good springboard into the fact that we're going to start creating these micro podcasts, little just like bite-sized pieces of mindset and motivation. Sometimes you just need that little reminder, that little perspective that helps out. And so we're going to be creating a lot of micro podcasts around those ideas. I'll read a quote that we like, or something that we just read that motivated us, something like that. So just to kind of give you that kickstart if you're having those bad days. And it's all over our Instagram page too, at we.r.well with 3 L's. We couldn't get the domain that we wanted, but all over that is just, we try to create, we've tried to create our page to be like an atmosphere of like positivity, where you can just come, feel good, get out, fucking go crush life. Right. So that's, it's a lot about what we're doing with We Are Well and Happily Discontent. And in this very podcast is like, we fucking just want you guys to be happy and well and better. And we think that comes right now with not setting the expectation so high. Just start small, just do anything. On day one, just do any small thing. And I think actually one thing you said that I wanted to bring in too is like, we recommend to don't start with 5 resolutions, 10 resolutions. Start with one. Start with one and start with a very tiny habit to advance you on that one. And then once you're at day 16 or day 30 or whatever it takes to kick it in, then you can layer in another habit. Then you can go from there. And so just like, don't overwhelm yourself. It's going to tax your mental health. It happens to all of us. It's happened to us. That's why we're preaching these things. Is like, we have overloaded ourselves with habits. We have been the ones to get up and say we're going to go on a 5-kilometer run, and it just doesn't work, and it causes more harm than good. I love that that's where our heads are at, that we want to be better, but like the route to get there is not like, you got to make the route easier and use the way your brain works and the habit loops to help you cruise.
Help you get there.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's resolution season. Let's not do what we do every year and bail by January 14th. This is the year that we commit to ourselves, and our resolution that we made on Jan 1st is still part of our life, Jan 1st, 2022. Let's get it.